You ever wonder how the Myrtle Beach real estate market is really doing? I know many of you out there know that the market is definitely softer than it's been in the last 4 or 5 years, especially post-COVID when we saw that major spike in business where every home was selling. But do you really know how much different it is than it was back then? So what I wanted to do is I broke down the numbers because I track inventory every single day to see what's happening and kind of maybe pick out some trends that may be happening that most people out there aren't paying attention to, so we can catch it early. So I track numbers every single day as far as inventory in our market, and it's really interesting when you look at a greater picture. So what I did is I went back to 2020. Today is October 21st. I went back to October 21st of every year since 2020 up until now, and pulled out the numbers and I put them into one spreadsheet, and I wanted to share with you just to kind of give you a comparison so you see what's really happening relative to what it was. So what I'm about to show you is a spreadsheet that's going to show three columns. One is going to be overall inventory. The second column is going to be how much of that overall inventory is actually under contract with a buyer. So we call that the absorption rate in the industry. So out of how many units or how many properties on the market, how many homes on the market or condos, how many of them are actually under contract with buyers right now. And then the third column is going to be the percentage of under contract relative to total inventory. So that percentage is the absorption rate that we look at. The absorption rate is really important because not only does it tell us the level of inventory, it also tells us how active the market is because we can actually see buyer activity as well. So we see what's selling, what's just sitting there. So I'm going to share this with you, and I think you're going to be a little bit shocked to see the difference. Here's the spreadsheet that I'm talking about. So I've got it broken down by by category. Right. So single family homes. This is all single family homes. So that would include resales. So those are privately owned homes that are in the market for sale, which is broken down into resales here and also broken down into new construction over here. So this all single family homes includes both resale and new construction. But for the sake of this conversation, let's really focus on resales because that's going to matter to you more than new construction. Look at what happened in 2020. Out of 2,916 homes on the market, 1,373 were under contract. That's a 47% absorption rate. Now, of course, that was the year of COVID, and then things shut down for a little while, I think for about 2 months here. And then 2021 is when things really broke out. So October 21st of 2021, almost 60% of every single home on the market for sale was under contract with a buyer. That was the peak. So 2021 was the peak. Now you can see what it's done since then. 2022 went down to 33%, 2023, 32%, last year, 25%, and this year we're at 24%. Now, 24% is not bad. Like in a normal market, that's actually not too far off. We're typically around 28 to 32% in just a normal market. Imagine COVID never happened, we would be around 20, 28%. But when we got used to 47 and 58, and there was a time where it was, I think, 78% in 2021 when it really spiked. Towards October, it was already declining October 21st. So it was actually higher at one point. When we compare it to that, it feels like it's really slow. Now, look at new construction. So new construction continues to be fairly strong. 50%, 47%, 49%. The lowest it went down to was 47.5%. That's single family home. So relative to a normal market, it's actually not too bad compared to post-COVID. It's much slower. Condos, same story here. Look at 2020. This is all condos. This is condos not on Oceanfront, and this is condos on Oceanfront. So this all condos will combine both of these numbers together. So 35% in 2020, 71% in 2021. Again, that's not even the peak. I think the peak was 80-something% in condos. It was incredible what was happening early 2021 with condos. Everything was selling. And then look at what's happened since then. Huge drop from 71% to 37%. That's why we just hit a wall. All of a sudden, like things like we were looking around, like what's going on with condos? That's when interest rates spiked. Okay. So automatically we saw a huge drop in the absorption rate. It went from 1,394 pending to 781 pending. Then 2023 down to 28.9%. 2024, 19.75%, and now 19.5%. That's softer than a normal year. Again, average normal year is usually around 24 to 27% for condos. So it's a little bit, it's softer, I should say, than single family homes. When we look at stuff that's off the oceanfront, it's actually holding its own a little bit better relative to the oceanfront. So it went from 75 to 43, 36, 24, now 23 as of this morning. And then look at the oceanfront, where I see the biggest concern right now, because there are buildings out there. There's about 6 or 7 buildings right now that are just getting pummeled as far as depreciation. Their values are going down as we speak. So 29%, 2020, 66% almost in 2021, and then a tremendous drop in 2022. 17%, 12%, 13%. Now it was actually as low as 11% at one point towards the end of 2024, and then early on this year. So 13% went up a little bit, but it's very, very slow relative to what we were used to back in 2021. You look at the inventory, 1,489 condos on the market, just the oceanfront right now, only 194 are under contract. So another way of looking at this is 87% of the condos on the oceanfront right now sitting out there are not selling. They're just sitting there collecting days on the market. Land, not much variation actually. So 17% to 22 to 17, back to 22, 18, 17. So it hasn't had this, haven't been impacted, excuse me, as homes and single family have been. So I thought you might find this interesting. Just it's an overall view, as opposed to looking at something specific and looking at what's happening right now, when we get some sort of a contextual look of what it was post-COVID, pre-COVID, and then during COVID, post-COVID, and then what it's done now. Hopefully you found that helpful. If you have a property here in town and are curious as to what the value is, or just have a question about anything in the market, give me a call. My phone number is down here on the bottom. That's my direct line right to me, and my email address. Whatever I could do to help you, please reach out.